Hello and welcome to the MJCast. It's Saturday, the 16th of May, 2015, and we've got a jam-packed show ready for you guys today. We've got some really interesting news items coming up and a very interesting discussion topic as well, all based around a question that was sent in to us from Austin Ernst. So before we get going, I want to introduce a few people. Of course, we've got our co-host Q here today with us. Q, how you doing?
Good morning. I slept in, so I'm apologising to everyone to keeping them waiting. So I slept through my alarm, got home from a late shift at work, but I'm here now. Hi, everyone. It's great to be back.
It's quite all right, Q. The show will go on for sure. We've also got Australia's biggest Michael Jackson fan, Marnie Carlson. Marnie, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm so excited to have you guys on the show. Thank you so much for coming on the MJCast.
That's all right. I'm so excited to be here. I absolutely love the podcast, and I'm just so honoured that I can join in on the discussion and have a bit of a MJ geek out session with you guys.
That's what it's all about.
That's the idea. And of course, we've also got Jerome Horn here from Indianapolis in the United States. Jerome, how are you?
I'm doing very well, very well.
How sexy is that accent?
It's good. It's good.
It's pretty cool. That good old indie accent.
Well, actually, I've only lived here for the past 9 months. I came from Atlanta, Georgia, down south.
Okay. There you go. I haven't been to Atlanta. I have been to Indianapolis, though.
Oh, okay.
Guys, let's get straight into our first news item. We've got an interesting development from this week. I believe it was on Wednesday. We had the Jacksons actually appear and perform on American Idol on the season 13 finale. There were 2 hours of performances, all up, with 14 contestants and huge stars from the music industry joining in to perform as well. And one of those contestants was Tiana Jones, who actually performed with the Jacksons. Did you guys have a chance to see this?
I did.
What did you think, Marnie?
So for me, I don't know. I also saw another performance with, I'm not sure who the contestant was, but with Janelle Monáe. And I just found both performances very lackluster. I mean, with the Jacksons, I thought that, it's really cool that they're still performing and stuff, but they seemed a little all over the place at times, and the contestant just seemed really nervous. That's what I honestly thought of it. But it was a cute performance and everything. It did nothing for her vocal range. Yeah, that's just, I just think it was kind of like I don't know, just part of the show. Let's get a big star and, she can play the part of Michael Jackson and it'll be amazing. But it just, for me, it didn't come off as amazing. Maybe in the context of the whole show it might have been, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it thinking like, oh, it's going to be great to see the Jacksons performing again, and it's always really good to see those guys perform, and I think they did a reasonably good job of it. Probably not as good as what I've seen them do in their own shows, their own recent shows especially, but it was still good to watch nonetheless. I just didn't, I don't know. The problem I have with it is more that, they're the Jacksons, and I don't know, any time a big star goes on one of these reality singing shows like X Factor or American Idol or whatever, I always just feel like, oh, do you really need to do that? Like, you're already, the Jacksons changed the world. They're the biggest, musical family out, and I don't know, I always wonder why go on American Idol? I don't know. That might just be me though, thinking that.
Yeah,
I didn't really even know the show was still going.
Yeah, I think it's season 13. I think that was the final one though, wasn't it? Jerome, I mean, you're in the States. So what's the word with American Idol? That's the last of the whole show, isn't it? Now it's cancelled, I think.
As far as I know, and I have to be honest with you, I really haven't watched the show in the last few years myself. So yeah, it's had its time.
Yeah, definitely time to wrap it up, I think. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of those reality contests with singing in general. I think some of them can be okay, but I mean, it was good to see the Jacksons on there. I love seeing them perform live whenever, because they're so talented and such amazing people, and I loved all the press they did leading up to it. They did some really good interviews as well. Did you guys get a chance to hear any of those interviews?
I saw one with Marlon and Jackie
Yeah.
on some morning show, and even though Jackie was talking about how his kids escaped the house, like little toddlers ran across the road to Celine Dion's duck pond or something for half the interview. It was still a very good interview, and it was cool to see him. And yeah, no, they did some good press. Where was Jermaine? Does anyone know?
I'm not
That's a
really.
good question.
Yeah, not really sure. I don't think he performed because doesn't he usually take the lead singing role in the shows anyway? So like,
In most parts, like they all take some turns in the forefront, but it's generally, yeah, Jermaine.
yeah,
But still, it was used to be five. I'm sure they could have made it five still.
yeah. Not really sure, but there's in other Jackson's news though. I mean, like we've got another big thing happening this year with them. There are some news has just come out that they're actually going to be headlining BBC's Proms in the Park 2015, which I find really exciting because those the Proms in the Park sort of performances that I've seen from other artists in the past have always been captured really well and great, high definition footage and always really, really good performances. So I can't wait for this to happen. It's going to be happening on Saturday, the 12th of September at Hyde Park in the UK. Tickets are on sale at the moment for £39 only at bbc.co.uk/proms in the park. And I just think it's going to be really, really good. Marnie, have you heard much about this at all?
No. The first I've heard of it is pretty much now. I'm really glad, like I said before, that they're still performing and they're still kind of carrying on the legacy because they're great guys. But I kind of feel like, aren't they super old now? Like when do they retire? Yeah, but it's really good that they're still doing it. I love hearing them all sing and kind of take turns doing that. And I'm just hoping they've just got an awesome set.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be pretty good because they. I've got to admit, I have not actually seen them live before, so I can't comment on that. I've seen a lot of footage on YouTube of them performing live. I do know that Q, you've seen them live, so I mean, what do you think about this new performance?
I would, first of all, the price, wow, couldn't beat that. And I think they're awesome. And they had the energy of like 20-year-olds, really, when I saw them. They were really, really, really good. It blew me away how full of energy and just like the old days they were.
Just really, really cool stuff. I mean, they, from what I know as well, with this show that they're going to be doing as a part of the Promenade concerts, they're not going to be just doing one or two songs. I think the news article I saw advertising it was actually talking about them doing nearly a whole set, like a concert. So it should be interesting. They'll be probably doing their greatest hits, obviously, which would be great. Jerome, do you enjoy seeing the Jacksons perform in their latest iteration?
I do, and like you, I haven't actually seen them live, but I've watched a lot of videos on YouTube, and it's fun to watch, but it's also hard for me to watch because you know the obvious is Michael's not there, and so it's just in my mind it is a little hard for me to obviously I have to accept that fact, but it's always I feel like I watch them perform, I enjoy it, but I'm still left yearning for something more or something that it's not quite there. That's the best way I can sum it up when I see them. But as Marnie said, I'm excited that they're still performing, and I'm glad that they're still doing what they love doing and sharing their gift of music with the world. So
I think it's important that they're still performing. I'm glad they are as well. I think that's an important thing that they are because their music on their own stands up against anything now. So I think that it's good that they're still out there doing it. Yeah, there might be a legacy act in a lot of ways, but their musical history and their musical royalty. So we're very lucky.
Yeah, it's fantastic
yes,
that they still have that energy. Um, like you said, I mean, even watching the American Idol performance, even though it didn't wow me, just they did have that energy. It was really great to see that. Marlon still dancing and pulling all those dance moves, and all the poses and stuff that they used to do on, because I've watched so many of or so much of the old footage from the 70s of them performing, and it's still very similar. They're just fantastic.
Marlon tore the stage up when I saw them. I couldn't believe it. Because I saw him the next day and I got their autographs, and I told him, "So you tore that stage up like a 21-year-old," and he laughed so much. But he
Yeah.
really did. He tears the stage up dancing and stuff.
Yeah, Marlon is highly underrated. I think that he's probably my favorite Jackson after Michael. He tried really hard, like his dancing is incredible and he's got a really underrated voice as well. I think that for me, he's definitely a standout in the Jacksons and I'm so glad that he's performing as part of the Jacksons, because he's great. He's a
So
great guy.
true.
Yeah, great stuff. I just hope I get the chance one day to see them live. Like everyone that I've ever seen who's seen them always say it's just an incredible experience going to watch them. The positivity, the energy, the music. I mean, they're singing live. It's just really magical. So hopefully one day it'll happen for me as well.
Well, we'll get to talk about this again because this doesn't happen until September. So after it happens, when we get footage, we'll get to talk about that. But for all our UK listeners, if you're going to proms or proms in the park to see the Jacksons, let us know.
Absolutely. We can't wait to hear. There's a lot of things happening in England around September. I'm pretty sure that's when Kingvention's happening as well, isn't it?
Oh, man, you're right. That's so cool.
So imagine that. You get to go to, if you're in England at that time, you get to see the Jacksons live and go to Kingvention all in 1 month. Ah.
Lucky buggers.
Absolutely.
No.
Absolutely.
We're jealous.
Totally. What did you guys think about the rumors this week of possible new Janet Jackson album coming out? Did you see that as well?
Yes, I did see that come across some of my news sources. It's certainly exciting. I'm really, really, into the possibility that she's putting out new music because, obviously she, in her own right, is a incredible artist, and certainly, looking forward to see what comes out of this, and if find out if it's really true, and see what her plans are as far as promotion, and if she is going to tour again, and all sorts of things. So very excited, very excited.
And how about you, Marnie?
Yeah, we'll just title the podcast Carlson.
Carlson Cast.
Yeah, Carlson. Oh gosh. Anyway, I'm really excited. I feel like she's been really quiet since her Up Close and Personal tour, and I kind of got the feeling that it was probably her last tour. And she's kind of has she had a book since then, or was that before the tour? I'm not quite sure.
It was roughly around the same time, I think. I can't remember whether it was before or after, but it was around that period.
Yeah, and so she had the tour and she had the book, and I think that she had some kind of diet product thing going as well. Yeah, so I just felt like she's been really quiet, so this would be really exciting instead of her just, being a legacy act. It'd be really exciting to hear some new music. Although if she's concentrating on her personal life, I'm happy for her. Definitely, she deserves that. So yeah, it'd be definitely a nice surprise to have new music from her because I love Janet.
Yeah, it is a really exciting thing. I hope this is true. I mean, it's been a problematic sort of couple of weeks with the article because I think it was originally talked about by Hip Hop Vibe, and they said that the album was definitely coming July 10th. And they said they had like a photo, an uncredited photo came out, basically a roster of releases, like album releases for the future. And it said on there that this album was coming on July 10th. It wasn't, it's not certain where that photo came from, whether it was from a record store or a record label, but what was on there was a series of artists that belonged to Atlantic Records, including artists like Meek Mill and people like that. But Janet Jackson was on there, so it started sparking rumors that Janet had signed with Atlantic and that this album would be coming out on July 10th for sure. And then since then, it's gotten really confusing because so Atlantic Records have come out and said that no, there is no Janet Jackson coming out through us, but people have called record stores and have been told that they can pre-order an album for Janet Jackson. Also, somebody of prominence spoke about it as well. Who was it? Oh, yeah, Sia, the singer Sia. Her manager came out and tweeted that he has spoken with people in the record industry who have said, yes, there is an album coming. Jimmy Jam, the legendary producer that she's worked a lot with as a part of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, he has been tweeting for a while now that new work is coming. So, you know, I'm of the mind that the album will be coming out. I think new Janet Jackson is on its way. Whether it's as soon as July 10th, we don't know. But I can't wait for it to happen, and I certainly hope it's a return to the musical quality that we saw from her in the 80s and the 90s in partnership with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis.
Are we 100% this photo came from the US? Maybe it came from elsewhere, and we're reading the date wrong, and maybe it's the 7th of October.
Oh, I have no idea. Like, it could be that. It could be... Yeah, I don't have the photo in front of me right now, but it could be a date. You know, we could be reading it wrong, but whenever...
I hope it's July. That's sooner, so that would be cool.
Yeah, it's like less than 2 months away, July 10th.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Janet on tour?
I have. I saw the Up Close and Personal tour. That's the only one I've seen. And I loved it. I was pretty close to the front, I think. Actually, Damien was there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was fantastic. I think that I probably had teary moments because, you know, her music was music that I grew up with, and as a, you know, child and a teenager, and, you know, to see this amazing woman on stage in front of me, it was kind of like an moment. And yeah, I thought she was incredible. And it was really stripped back, you know, all the dancers were in, you know, just their jeans and all in black and stuff. And it was just really nice to just see her on stage. So I loved it. I loved seeing her perform.
That's cool. Yeah, I saw that tour as well. It was a big contrast to her other work, but it was cool to see it stripped back, and she did a good job. The Jacksons rocked it out of the park when I saw them. They were like, wow, they've topped Janet, which I never thought could have happened compared to her. That last tour. But I saw her she was my first ever cassette that I ever got back in the olden days. So her Janet album, Rhythm Nation was my first ever album that I got on cassette off Santa Claus one Christmas. And then she was my first ever concert on the Janet tour. I saw her. That was my first ever concert. That was here at the now demolished Perth Entertainment Centre. And I think I saw her again. I'm trying to remember what other tours she's had. I think I saw her again, and then the Up Close and Personal one.
She had the Velvet Rope tour in the late 90s, and then the All For You as well tour as well in the early 2000s.
Okay, maybe it's only the 2 times that I've seen her. I'm still waking up. I haven't had a tea. Haven't had my cup of tea yet. But no, it's very exciting. And when we were little kids, this is a funny story quickly. When we were little kids, we didn't own like a VCR for a lot of the time, but mum and dad sometimes would hire one, like during school holidays and stuff. We would hire the actual machine and then go to the video shop. Eventually we did get our own VCR, but one of the first videos me and my sister ever used to go and get out was the Rhythm Nation and the Control video cassettes and watch all the film clips.
Wow.
Because Control was a kick-ass album as well.
Oh yeah.
Totally was. I just, you know, I don't know what you guys think about this, but I always feel like there's kind of like this, like 2 chapters almost in Janet Jackson's career. There's like what she was doing in the 80s and the 90s with Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, and then I suppose All For You as well in, I think it was 2001 or 2000 when that came out. That was Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. And then it was like she kind of broke away from them and did Demeter Joe, 20YO, and then Discipline. And there's like, she was working with a lot of different R&B and hip hop producers at that time. And she just, I don't know, those few albums specifically, just at the tail end of when she was putting out music, for me was like, she deviated a lot from what made her. And I don't know, the last couple of songs that have come out from her before she moved to the Middle East, I think there was one called Nothing, and there was another one called, what was that other one she did with Rodney Jerkins? It was on her best of, the single. I can't remember. Anyway, so those 2 songs, I really liked those. So I don't know, like I'm hoping that we see a return to, I don't know, that original sort of Janet Jackson sound that really made her famous. Do you guys feel the same way, that there was kind of like a dip in the quality of stuff coming out towards the end of her recording, or is it just me? What do you think, Jerome?
I would agree with you. I pretty much agree exactly with what you said. I tend to find her the beginning stuff that she put out to be more, I guess, more enjoyable, and the later material to just not be as fun or as listenable as I want it to be. So I certainly hope that if there is a new album coming out, that it'll be a return to what she's known for. Because, and I have to be honest with you, for the longest time, I had never really. I knew Janet Jackson existed. I'd listened to some of her songs. I'd seen the Rhythm Nation video, but I'd never really watched like any of her concert tours until after Michael passed. And I kind of really started looking into Janet, and I was just amazed that she, in her own right, is just an incredible live performer as well.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, she often has been in the shadow of Michael, I guess, as a performer and an artist. But like, for me, the way I look at it, she was kind of like Beyonce before Beyonce. Like
Totally.
Yes.
She
She doesn't get enough credit.
no way.
No way. It's ridiculous how she doesn't get the recognition she deserves. And like, there was the campaign on social media to induct her into the Hall of Fame because she's earned it, and she's not in the Hall of Fame.
I know, and she didn't just she broke the color line for women internationally. Like, I mean, she was like the first female black artist that I can think of that really had massive like international success on a scale that had never been there before. And I don't know, like ever since the Super Bowl incident that happened, the wardrobe malfunction stuff, like I just felt like the media have jumped on her in the same way that they jumped on Michael, and it's kind of all gone downhill from there. But at the same time, I don't think she's helped it much either with the music she's been putting out, because a lot of the stuff in the 80s and the 90s, when you listen to the lyrical content of those songs, I feel like a lot of them, they have social messages in them. They're about bringing awareness to people about issues and that kind of thing. And then like you listen to the stuff in the last decade, and it's, I don't know, it doesn't have that depth to it lyrically that I've felt before. Anyway, Marnie, would you agree? Or
Oh, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I'm definitely into the old Janet Jackson stuff, and haven't purchased her last few albums just because I don't like the music on them. I don't think that it's nearly as good as what she's done before. And I still have I think I have the Rhythm Nation compilation video DVD.
Yeah.
And watching stuff like what's the song? I've just forgotten it. It's the video clip with Cab Calloway in it. It's incredible. It's All Right.
Not All Right, yeah.
Yeah. All Right. It's one of my favorite songs. And her videos, her performances, and her concert performances were all so incredible back then. And then, yeah, they definitely dipped in recent years. So, yeah, it'd be great to see her, doing something a little bit more interesting than she has done in recent years.
I think there might be a slight return to the social message stuff, because there's been a bit of a campaign on Twitter, at least, with the hashtag conversations in a cafe. Have you guys seen that?
no, I haven't heard of that. What's that?
Okay, so like a few people that she knows, I think friends of hers, have put like this hashtag up, conversations in a cafe, with like a picture of some sort of social injustice somewhere. And I think it's sort of related back to the Janet album. I think it's sort of like a subtle campaign that might be happening right under our noses.
I don't know. I haven't heard of that, but I want to check into that because it sounds interesting. I just hope whatever comes out next is addresses some of those big issues and is we see that powerful, strong Janet back touring, putting great music out. I don't know. I mean, but what you said before, Marnie, is true. Like, I mean, she's had a whole career. She conquered the world with her music. If she wants to enjoy a private life, then that's fine too. It's just as fans, you can't help want more stuff from the Jacksons, but
Oh, definitely. How greedy are we wanting wanting our favorite artists to keep performing as long as we're alive too?
Yep, pretty much.
Oh dear.
Definitely. Well,
So I actually just clicking on the hashtag now, and I
yeah,
actually think the official Janet Jackson Twitter has even tweeted out one conversations in a cafe, which was so it was a tweet from Jimmy Jam, and then she has said the depth of this hashtag conversations in a cafe, and then there's a few more. So I'm not sure if this is an official. There's one from Kathy Ireland, which is a friend of the family. Jimmy Jam. There's a couple of little things. I don't know if this is a subtle little campaign out there that we're seeing, maybe the birth of, but we should keep an eye on that.
well, I tell you, it could be because the thing is with Jimmy Jam is he's actually been tweeting for like a year or two now about their music, like that they're working on. So like they're definitely doing stuff together again. And I just, yeah, I mean, this is an album title. Who knows what this could be? I mean, if Janet Jackson's tweeted it, if Jimmy Jam's tweeted it, and they're being real cryptic about it, could be a song title. Who knows?
Interesting side note, May 16th is Janet Jackson's birthday, by the way.
Hey, that's like today, 16th.
What's today?
That's
Yes.
Wow. Happy birthday,
Happy
Janet.
birthday to the Queen,
birthday.
Janet. We love you. Come on the show, Janet. We'd love to talk to you about your new album and anything that you'd want to talk about.
Oh, absolutely.
Can I be on that as well?
Just putting it out there, that'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So let's move on to our next topic, and this is something that we actually covered last week 2 weeks ago on episode 7, and we talked all about the Baltimore riots that are going on, or have been going on in the United States, and also what Michael Jackson tribute artist Dimitri Reeves is doing about that by going to ground zero of those riots and performing his renditions of Michael Jackson music to try and pacify and quell the violence that's actually going on in those places. And we're lucky enough right now to have, obviously, Jerome on the show with us. And Jerome is somebody that I just found out today used to live in Baltimore until he was 12 years old. And obviously lives in the United States. And I think he can bring a flavour to the conversation that Q and I... We did our best last week, but like we kind of said, we're just two guys in Australia, and I think it's going to be really interesting to hear from somebody in the US. So Jerome, what do you think about all of this stuff going on at the moment in Baltimore?
Well, the first thing I say, and my first reaction is it's sad, that was the place that I was born, and I lived there, and I still have a lot of family that's there. It was upsetting to see that happening to a town that I still have a lot of a connection to. But the problem is it's a historical problem. It dates back, depending on who you talk to, this is something that goes all the way back to slavery in the United States when Africans were first brought over here. And it's kind of something that has continued to go on in different ways throughout the years. A lot of people look at the riots and they look at the people first, let me say, it started off. All this stuff in Baltimore started off as peaceful protest for the death of Freddie Gray. And there had been a week or two of peaceful protests, and then all of a sudden there was a small minority of people that decided to get rowdy. And unfortunately, that small group of people drew the attention of national media, and then it just grew into this bigger thing where you get there were a lot of young kids involved, like 15, 16-year-olds, even maybe some kids a little bit younger than that were the main ones going around throwing rocks at police and just bashing in windows and setting fire to cars. And, it's just sad. But at the same time, a lot of people have to understand when a group of people, when you grow up in an environment where all you know is drugs and your family environment is broken, and you have not had people in your life that you haven't had. Your parents if they're there, they're not involved, or you don't have parents in your life. And there's just this broken cycle that has been going on in families for years. And there's no after school programs. There's no sort of, there's just the opportunities to grow as people and achieve the so-called American dream is not there for a lot of these people. And so it's not a simple problem to fix. And I think a lot of the riots, it goes back to African Americans and Black people just being disenfranchised over a period of hundreds of years at this point, and a certain group of people just not being able to have the same opportunities that everyone else has had. And in Baltimore in particular, Baltimore is a reflection of many major cities in America, where you can go to almost any major city and find parts of the city where you see this type of environment that people live in. And it's almost like a third world country. And it's just very sad that we in America can't seem to find a solution to the problem. People, we can throw money at things, but at the end of the day, money is not all that. Money isn't everything. This is something that starts with families, and it's just something that's much deeper. And I think one good thing about Baltimore is that it's because it happened when it did, and the prevalent and social media being as prevalent as it is, it brought it to national attention. And I think it has started a discussion about the issues of inequality in America and the haves versus the have-nots, and whether or not police are really, treating people brutally. And so I think that discussion is going on, and it's really fresh in people's minds. And it's something that I think we'll start to try to work our way to a solution slowly but surely.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we're seeing a situation where Dimitri Reeves, the tribute artist who doesn't just perform in Baltimore but all over the place, decided to get involved and try and quell that violence. And what do you think, Jerome, about his message? Do you think it's getting through to the people here? Do you think it's effective?
I think to some people it's effective. I think it really just depends on who you are and your views. I think him going out and dancing and trying to deliver a message through Michael of promoting peace and understanding. I think it's a great thing, and I'm glad he did it. But at the same time, I think there are a lot of people that just look at it as, oh, this guy is just using this to get his 15 seconds of fame, or he just wants to be famous. And they're not really concentrating on the real motivation behind why he decided to do it and why he's using Michael's music. So I think it's on some people they get it, and on other people the message is lost. And also just the way media covers things in the United States is very interesting. And it's depending on which particular news outlets you listen to or watch, you'll get one side of the story, you'll get another side of the story. And in the United States, we tend to focus on all the negative things and the violent things a lot more than positives.
I think that's almost the world over. It's hard to find news now where you're going, this doesn't really seem like the full story. Like, what's the truth here? Because they've always got an angle that they're trying to push, and they're often backed by the bajillionaires who also then lend support to certain political parties. So the news is hard to find now that you can actually trust.
Yeah, I would agree.
I saw Prince did a concert in Baltimore this week as well. So I think he may have even written a song about Baltimore to help. Can you tell us anything about that? I haven't found much that I could sort of talk about on it.
I've actually listened to the song. It's an interesting song. Supposedly he played all the instrument parts himself, and he and one other person do all the vocals. The song, it has a Prince sound, and there's a kind of a chant throughout the song of in the chorus of the word Baltimore. And somewhere about halfway through the song, you start to hear people chanting, "No justice, no peace."
Cool.
And the song ends, if I'm not mistaken, it ends with it's like a police blurb talking about the situation in Baltimore. So it's a very interesting song. I think it's on SoundCloud, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Um,
Marnie, have you been following much of the news with the Baltimore riots and what Dimitri Reeves is doing there?
I haven't really been following. I work strange hours, or very early mornings, late nights, probably similar to Q. Um,
Yay for
and
shift workers.
yeah, for shift focus. Yeah, I'm in hospitality, so and often I just want to come home and just go to sleep, or do my workout or whatever, and then make dinner. Anyway, so I try and keep up with the news, but this was not something that I really read a lot about, unfortunately. I think I could have just passed it off as, oh, there's another riots going on, another shooting has happened, another police brutality. It just seems really common the last couple of years, and that's really sad. So yeah, I think I was kind of a little bit, blasé about it, and just coupled with not being up to date on the news. But I did watch a couple of the clips of Dimitri, and I did read some of the interview that he had with one of the news sites. I can't remember. You guys linked it to me.
I think it was MJ Vibe.
Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, and I think that it's really fascinating that he's actually a new Michael Jackson fan. So he's post Michael Jackson's death.
I thought that was interesting too.
Yeah, so he's not like a lifelong fan or anything. He's this guy that's been touched by Michael after his passed, and I think he's an amazing dancer, and I think what he did with the riots just kind of, there was so much danger around him, and he just decided to dance.
Yeah, I worry though that the thing is, this what Q and I were talking about last week was that the media tend to focus so much on the actual violence and the riots and not the problem that's causing them. And we weren't, last week, Q and I weren't promoting rioting as a thing that should happen, but more saying that, hang on, there's a root problem here. What is it? And why is the media not focusing on that? And they're focusing on the response to it by the people. And I just worry that, Dimitri's message has been lost here a little bit. And it's no fault of his own. He is a guy that is doing an amazing thing and bringing peace to a very, very hot situation. But, is his message getting through? The media, YouTube, everyone seems to be focusing on this 15-second snippet of Beat It, and him performing that. But is his message getting through that violence should not be happening? It's the same thing with Michael's music. I mean, They Don't Care About Us. Amazing song. Great video. The prison version especially, directed by Spike Lee. Did the message of that get through? No, it didn't, because it was that video was banned. It just makes me angry sometimes that the message gets lost in amongst people's obsession with, oh, let's watch this guy perform Beat It. Let's not actually talk about why he's doing this. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree completely. But that's exactly what I saw from this. I thought this one guy is trying to, but I'm a Michael Jackson fan, but this one guy is trying to bring some peace and harmony to a really chaotic situation, and trying to bring some relief in the form of dance, which is exactly Michael Jackson's message. He wanted to provide escapism with his music. And I love that this guy, not being a long-time Michael Jackson fan, has got that and is using it for such just out of the goodness of his heart. So
yeah, that's right. It's really amazing what he does, I think, because it's you can make a tribute video, or you can make a video, you can make a fan video to They Don't Care About Us or something and put it on YouTube and reach a lot of people and that kind of thing. But he doesn't seem to be about reaching lots and lots of people. His thing's about reaching few people, but people that are in the hot zone, the people that are involved in the actual violence. I need to distract these people in this moment so that we can get a resolution to this bombing or whatever might be happening in that moment in that spot. So it's fascinating. Which is
amazing. Yeah, that's just incredible that he would do that. And he's not trying to reach the masses. He's trying to reach the people that are, that are having a hard time right now in that moment. So
yeah, it's really, really interesting. So, Jerome, is the news continuing? Are you seeing more and more of the news of Baltimore come out, even in the media at the moment in the US, or is it kind of starting to calm down a little bit?
It has pretty much calmed down. it's actually been rather calm, I'd say, for the last 2 weeks or so. It seemed that when the verdict came out, then they decided to charge all the police officers. Um, that was really what people wanted to hear, and so that did a lot to calm things down immediately. So there really hasn't been much. The only thing we've heard is there still have been a really high number of just murders and shootings in Baltimore, which unfortunately Baltimore has been. It's a great city, really it is, but it also has its bad parts, and it has always kind of had a high murder rate anyway. Um, but overall, things have calmed down. Things have calmed down.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. We'll make sure to keep everybody up to date on the MJCast. And make sure as well you go to Kerry Anderson's Facebook page. Kerry is a head of security. He was head of security, director of security, I should say, for Michael Jackson during the mid-2000s. He was also in the LAPD. And Kerry loves to put the message out on his Facebook page all about what's happening in America around police brutality and things that are happening to young black men, especially all throughout the United States. So make sure to jump on to Kerry Anderson's Facebook page. We'll put a link to that in the show notes to find out exactly what his thoughts are, because he's a great voice in this situation as well.
Good idea. Go check that out. So I'm sure if Michael was still around, he would have been speaking up like he always did right from the start about social issues and stuff. But we had a great question sent in from listener Austin Ernst, who on Twitter, he's the Creative Ape, the Creative APE. He sent in a question the other week, and it said, this is our main discussion point today.
Hello to the guys at the MJCast. Thank you so much for liking my question so much that you like to use it in your show. I've been a fan for a while of your show. I look so long for a really good Michael Jackson podcast that really delves deep into topics. My question for you guys is, if Michael would have never passed, where and what do you think he'd be doing right now in terms of the arts? Thank you so much, guys. I can't wait to hear more from you.
The reason why we got special guests in today, we got Carlson and Jerome from the US. We thought this is such a great topic for fans to discuss, because it could go anywhere. So, Jerome, I'm going to pass it over to you first. So if Michael would never have passed, where and what do you think he'd be doing right now in the terms of the arts?
Wow. Okay. Yeah, this is something that I've always thought about, and I still spend a lot of time thinking about. Well, hypothetically speaking, the This Is It tour would have happened, and there would have been several legs besides just the 50 shows in London. And I think after he would have done that, I really think that he would have started focusing a lot more, or spending a lot more time focusing on humanitarian efforts. I mean, he always focused on those things, but I think he would really ramp up his efforts to help people all around the world that need it. I think he would spend time nurturing and maturing younger artists in particular. I always wondered, well, what if Michael Jackson had been a judge on American Idol? Or what if, Michael Jackson were on the show The Voice, and, coaching young people and helping artists to, really find themselves. I think we'd really see him take on a mentor type role. And, creatively, I think he'd also be exploring more mediums of film. Of course, obviously, his music videos speak for themselves, and his movie projects, but I think we'd see him diving into those things even more if he were still alive. So he would probably still be a juggernaut in the field, and really having a huge, even more of a huge influence. But I definitely think we'd see him in a more teaching and more mentor type role at this point. I could go on forever, but I'll let someone else chime in, and I'm sure we'll bounce ideas back and forth.
And how about you then, Carlson?
I was actually, when I first read this, the show notes, I was kind of like, why did you guys want me to chime in on this? Because I don't know. I can be quite funny about speculating about Michael Jackson, like what he would want since he's passed. And this is one thing I've really kind of disliked in the fan community. Fans assuming they know what Michael Jackson would have done, what he would have wanted in terms of his personal life, his kids, or even with his music, what he would have done in a certain situation, because the answer is we simply don't know. People adapt, they change all the time. They change their opinions all the time, you know. So assuming that he would have done one thing based on something that he did in the past, I think personally is wrong. Having said that, that's all we can go on, really, because he has passed. We don't know what he would have done in certain situations, or what he would have done with his unreleased music, if he would have released it or anything like that. When I had a think about it and kind of delved a little bit, I was like, actually, I do have a few ideas on what he might be doing. I think that a really beautiful thought that I had was that, or what I would have liked, is that he would have finished his This Is It tour, and he would have gone to different countries and completed that tour, and, you know, taken the whole world with him and created all these new Michael Jackson fans all over the world, and spread his message of peace and love with the This Is It tour. And then I feel like he might have taken a break for a little while to raise his kids. And I feel like maybe he might have nurtured their careers a little bit, you know, because they look like they might have some talent and be interested in the arts. And I feel like maybe he would have, you know, concentrated on them for a little while. So Jerome says like a teaching or mentoring role. I feel like that might have been more to do with his kids or his nephews, or, you know, his nieces and stuff like that. Other than that, I feel like he might be doing some interesting stuff. I always felt like he might do scores. You know how like Trent Reznor from Nine Inch Nails, he did a couple of scores recently for films.
He did The Social Network.
Yeah. He did
really
another one.
movies.
Did he do The Girl with the Dragon
Yes.
Tattoo? Or yeah, he did.
Yeah, him and Atticus Rose. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I feel like he might have, because he was always into kind of classical music and classical influences and using orchestras and live music, and I think that would have been a really good thing that he might have explored. Whenever I think about what he might be doing now, I just keep thinking about scores and continuing his charity work. And because he was so into film, I feel like going back to scores again, that might have been a better route for him instead of acting. So that's the big feeling that I have, is scores, nurturing his children, and charity work. They're the three things that I think that he might be doing.
And I think we all sort of like get to that point where like, well, we can't know what he was going to do, and we can't comment on this because we don't know what he was thinking, but we can sort of go, well, this was his history and this is what he liked, and like the film score thing, you know, I think that I've got that in my notes when we get around to that. So no, I think, and did we sort of do a little introduction for Carlson and her title of Australia's? Did we?
I think I threw it out there. I think I called her the biggest fan in Australia, but didn't actually say why. No context.
Carlson, give us the context, because you know, first the show was such a sausage fest, so we needed to get a girl's voice in eventually.
Sausage fest. Q, do we have a show title there or what?
Oh goodness, I think we do. Sausages everywhere. I have to say that I do feel very honoured being the first female Michael Jackson fan on the show.
Hey. But you have an official title, don't you? So tell us about that.
Yeah. Okay, so the official title is, according to the plaque that I have, is, I'll just read it out to you, the official #1 fan for Australia of Michael Jackson, and then it says my name, Marnie Carlson. So that's the official title that I received when I won a competition in 2008. And it was run by Max TV, which is a music channel in Australia. along with Sony for the promotion of the King of Pop albums in celebration of Michael's 50th birthday. So that was 2008 when all those albums came out. And Sony did this promotion, and what you could win for the biggest fan in Australia, and what you could win was a King of Pop iPod with all his back catalogue on it. So, but they had a big party to celebrate as well, and that's where they announced the winner, which was me.
So awesome.
Yeah, and so there was 5 finalists in it. We all got a little TV spot. They came to my house. They filmed my collection. They asked me questions. So that's actually on YouTube if anybody wants to check it out.
We will link that in the show notes.
Yeah, so a few years ago now. So does that explain it?
Yeah, no, that's great. There you go.
Yeah.
That's an official title. So you have got some qualifications to be talking about this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I guess, I'm a long-time fan. I've been a fan since I was a child. So I've got a lot of, old articles, and, I've got a lot of books as well. So I was really into researching Michael Jackson, especially his artistry. And that's one thing I said in the TV spot that's never changed. I always wanted to know what makes him tick, why he does what he does in terms of how he makes his songs and stuff like that. And that's why I love Damien's book so much, by the way, because, you get all those insights from other people who worked with him. Books are so valuable, and, having all those tidbits on how he worked and what he did in the studio, So, yeah, that I was always, into being a Michael Jackson encyclopedia, really wanting to know every fact I could about him. So
and you mentioned Damien. Wasn't he also a one of the contestants on that competition you just mentioned?
He was, yes. He was my rival in the competition. my good friend Damien, and we both went to the party actually with yourself, Jamin, and your brother.
Yes.
And that was a fantastic night. Actually, it was one of the best experiences of my life. Just interacting with other fans, getting to film these little TV spots, getting to know other fans who were just huge Michael Jackson fans and what they liked most about him. So there were fans that were into his dancing. There were fans that were, just into Thriller.
Oh boy.
Fans that only knew Billie Jean. It was a lot of fun. But
it was a good night. I remember that. It was the King of Pop celebration, and it was kind of like an album launch as well. I remember being able to talk to the head of Sony Music Australia about Michael, and it was great. It was a really good experience, and I just remember like the crowd just going crazy when you got announced as the winner.
I also remember some interesting comments after that I had, like actual people saying to me that they were surprised that I won. And I was like, oh, you're trying to kill my buzz. Because, the reality was that I was up against Jason Jackson, who's a very famous Michael Jackson impersonator in Australia. And I was up against Damien, who's, as many people know, is a massive, massive fan, and now the author of a Michael Jackson book. I can't really claim that. And then I was up against Loretta Bolton, who danced with Michael Jackson on stage. She was a You Are Not Alone girl.
Oh.
And then I was up against another guy, Michael Downs, and he has a Michael Jackson pinball machine. So I was up against these amazing Michael Jackson fans. I thought I had no chance at all. So it was a surprise to me, but I'm very thankful to have the title. And like I said, it was one of the best experiences of my life, and I definitely cherish it and appreciate it. So
I'm glad you won, Marnie. I think it's cool that like just a fan, like, I guess you could say bedroom fan. We're not out there performing. We're not famous because of an incident. I think just like a cool run of the mill fan, which the majority of us sort of are. We don't have claim to fames and stuff. I think that's cool that a cool fan like that won it. So I think well deserved. And so that was a qualification that because we thought you'd have some good insights like you did for this topic. So what do you think, Jamin? I just wanted to move. Is that okay, Marnie?
Yeah, go ahead.
What do I think about the what Michael would have been doing now?
Yeah.
Well, I agree with Marnie that we don't know. Like we can't know what he would have been doing. But I think it's fun to speculate. I think we can look at like clues that he left, things like that he talked about in the last decade of his life about what he wanted to do. If we can kind of align those clues together, we can kind of see where he may have gone. I agree that with what Jerome said. I think that This Is It would have run its course. I think he would have done residencies in the world's major cities. I think there was talk about him going to Hong Kong and Sydney and Paris and different places like that, Shanghai or something. So, I think This Is It would have been massive. I think that he would have conquered the world again. I think that he would have set all kinds of records with live shows that no one would have ever beaten. I think that he would have done possibly one last major pop album. I don't know, there could have been more, but I'm guessing that there would have been one last massive pop album that would have... I think there's been information come out since he passed saying that his plan was to put out singles throughout his residency or residencies performing This Is It, and then eventually those singles would have been compiled onto like an album that would have been sold, rather than the album coming out first and then singles later. So I think that would have done really, really well. I think the Halloween special would have happened with ghosts and thriller and everything in a new format on TV for everyone to watch. But beyond that, like in terms of what he would be doing now in 2015, I think it would have, if I had to guess, I'd say that he would be more transitioning into, say, like a mature position within the entertainment industry. I'm not so sure he would be focused on, I'm almost certain that he wouldn't be touring anymore, because there's so many times in his life that he said that he didn't like touring, and it's the hard fact. He was so good at it, but it was the hard fact that he didn't like it. He said that on Private Home Movies special, and so I don't think he'd be focused on doing these huge scale tours maybe anymore, maybe the odd performance. But I definitely feel like he'd be transitioning into still being in entertainment somehow, but maybe not touring or putting out pop albums. So the thing with Michael Jackson is I think that music and performance and stuff was really in his blood. I don't think he could help it but be creative musically. So, as much as we could say maybe he wouldn't be putting out music anymore, I think that it's possible that he wouldn't have been able to help it. Like he was just so natural at it and it came to him. So I think I definitely agree with Marnie in that he possibly would have been getting into things like film scores. He definitely had a passion for film. I remember him talking a lot in interviews about wanting to produce an adaptation of the Jennings Michael Birch novel, They Cage the Animals at Night. He might have gone on to direct. Prince, his son, often talks about wanting to have directed films with his father. So he may have gone on to collaborate with his son and do work with film. We know that he was working on a children's album and a classical music album before he passed away as well. So I'd say that we may have seen those come to fruition. But yeah, I don't think he would have given up on music. I think that he'd gathered a great team around him of people like Michael Prince and Brad Buxer, and I think they probably would have gone on to work on more mature sounding pieces like maybe classical music or film scores. And yeah, it's interesting to think about it. I think film would have played a big role, definitely. Yeah,
Cool.
I don't know if that answers it thoroughly, but
yeah,
totally. That's what I think. I would have loved Michael to just continue forever, like putting out great, pop albums and performing and touring and TV specials and awards performances. But the thing is, like, he was 50 years old, and I don't think he could have sustained. Well, he couldn't sustain it. We saw that with what happened in 2009. Yeah. Like, I don't think he could have sustained it. So yeah, I think he knew that the time was right for him to he said he wanted to perform to show his kids that he could do it, like to show his kids what he did. That was the reason he was doing it. So I think once they'd seen that, maybe it would have been time for him to move into some of his other passions like film. I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
cool. I think that if Michael would never passed, what would he be doing in right now in terms of the arts? I think I'm going to go one direction. I'm going to try and say if This Is It happened, but in its an original format of 10 shows only, or if This Is It and the situation and circumstances surrounding This Is It tour never happened. So I'm just going to possibly ignore This Is It because I think that was such a huge turning point and a disaster in the making. So if that never happened, I'm going to say that I definitely think he, like you said, Jamin, had the music in him so much that it would never have stopped. He would never been. He's such a creative genius that he would have just been channeling music and creating music forever in some form. So I do think he would always have new stuff in the works. I do think he would do another pop album. I don't think that he would be able to ignore those songs that he was always coming to him and he would be working on in the background. So I think there'd be more pop album and maybe even a few more short films. But I think I agree with all of you, like Jerome and Carson and Jamin, that I think soundtrack scores, that was actually the third note down I've got, is soundtrack scores. I think he definitely would have dabbled into that, and I think he would have been amazing at it because, like Carson said, all of the beautiful instrumental stuff and orchestral stuff that he incorporated into his work, I think that was just a seed of it. Films, we do know that he was wanting to work on films. They caged them at night film that Jamin mentioned. I think hopefully stuff like that would have come to the fore, and he would have directed some films, which would have been incredible to see his direction and that side of that we never really got to see. I also think maybe he would have done some more books. He did the poetry book, Dancing the Dream, which is an incredible book, and he might have done some more stuff like that, like essays, like social commentary stuff, and maybe even some kids' books. And then I agree definitely with Jerome. I think he would have moved heavily into humanitarian efforts a lot. I think definitely. I think he would have become hopefully recognized for that and then achieved more in that field. And I definitely think he would have been a mentor. I think he had so much knowledge and experience, and everyone regarded him so highly in the music industry. Like all artists, they go, Michael Jackson was my inspiration. I think he definitely would have been a mentor. And he would have been incredible at it. Whether it would have been a judge on some sort of talent show, I can see it definitely happening. But whether or not that would have been a long-term thing or more like a mentor with a record label, maybe in having artists under his arm, that would have been really cool as well. And Jamin, was it you that mentioned the Halloween special?
Yeah, I just mentioned that. I think.
Yeah,
if
I think
remember
that
correctly,
would have been cool. Yeah, that would have been, I think, something definitely on the cards in the years to come, and something that I think would have been a huge success. And we could turn Halloween into like Thriller nights, basically.
Yeah. Man, that's one of the things I always think about. That another thing that I like to speculate is about what the estate does and what they should do and all that kind of thing. And if there was a product that I reckon should ever come out, it should be a Halloween Michael Jackson mega mix album, because he has got so many songs like Thriller and Is It Scary and Ghosts and Threatened, and put them all on one thing. That'd be crazy. I mean, you see how good Thriller does on the charts every year at Halloween anyway. So sorry, you just got me thinking now.
Along with the Addams Family thing that never came out.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Which is where Is It Scary came from, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was working with Teddy Riley on that stuff, wasn't he?
Yeah. Yeah, he was. That I just have to say, my husband is really into all his Halloween stuff. So, I mean, I know people that are very casual Michael Jackson fans, or not even fans, but they love things like Thriller, Is It Scary, and all those kind of dark stuff that he was, or dark things that he was doing. They think those songs are fantastic. And, if you do something like, Threatened in there, which, a lot of non-fans don't really know about, would be fantastic.
Totally. I mean, and he had that idea in the works already with the TV special.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
And it would have been great, because I've always felt like Ghosts, in particular, the film is probably the most underrated thing that he ever put out. Like, you just regular people, regular fans, I guess, they don't really talk about it very much. I mean, it hasn't been seen by a lot of people. I don't know why. From memory, I don't think it got a home video release, a widespread one anyway.
Only in the box set.
Yeah, just the box set, you know.
But they did show it on TV here in Australia. I actually I actually taped it off TV, and Molly Meldrum was in costume. He had his hat on. He had cobwebs over him, and it was all painted in grey. It was hilarious. So that was probably the first time I saw it before I ended up getting the box set.
Yeah.
And it
So
has
like
been on TV a few times in America as well.
Oh, that's good to hear. That's a relief.
Yeah.
I just hope it gets a proper, like a Blu-ray release or something one day. Because that thing was like, I think, you know, the people that worked on that were like industry veterans. Like, it was filmed with such high quality, you know. I just hope it comes out and is represented in the best way it can be one day.
Oh, yeah. I just have a question to ask of all of you guys, just based on what Q said before. You said that you felt that This Is It was a disaster in the making. I just want to put it out there in the context of the question. Did any of us feel that This Is It might not happen while all that hype was going on? Did we feel like it was not going to go ahead?
Because I had tickets to 4 of the shows.
Yeah.
To travel from Australia. I have to admit, it's something not with, say, the history tour. Like, that was the history tour. There was like nothing in my mind at that time saying this is not going to happen. With This Is It, it was very small, but there was a little thing in the corner of the back of my mind saying this might not happen. I think I was hoping so much that it would that I just ignored that. But I did have that little tiny seed, but it wasn't a big seed. It was just an afterthought that this might not happen. But that was the first time that I'd ever felt that was something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was, I definitely had that feeling. I had that feeling for the entire last decade of his life, actually, whenever new products would be announced or whether new products seemed like they would be on the horizon or... You know, I mean, you know, Invincible promotion being cancelled, Number One's promotion stopping because of the trial. You know, it seemed like every time something happened or was about to happen, something would come along to stop it. So I had that feeling throughout the preparations for This Is It. I just felt like this is an amazing thing that's too good to be true, and I want it to happen, and it's got to happen. And as it continued, and as we started getting that footage, you know, from Kenny Ortega and Randy Phillips of all the rehearsal, you know, I think they put like a mini documentary out with the dancers and stuff during the preparation for it. And as all of that stuff was coming out, I was like, this is it, you know, it's really happening, it's legit. And then, you know, of course we got that news, and then the morning I heard the news, it was like, I don't know, I didn't think he'd passed away when I first heard the news. Like, I just heard that he was rushed to hospital, and I thought, oh, okay, this is just another, you know, going to court in your pajamas situation. Like, you know, like but it, you know, obviously turned out to be really, really terrible. So yeah, I mean, I agree, Marnie. I had that feeling throughout it that this might not happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the point you made, Jamin, of that whenever there was an album or an event happening, something would come up to stop it. I think that's where my feeling had come from in the back of my mind, because there was that track record of something will happen to derail his plans that was out of his control. So that was my feeling, where it came from. Yeah. How about you, Jerome?
Yeah, I have to echo the same things, Jamin and Q, what you guys said. There was this little thing in the back of my mind that I had that thought. I kept thinking, this is too good to be true. But at the same time, you know, I remember when he made the announcement, I was in college at the time, and I actually skipped class that day to listen to the announcement because I didn't care what was going on in the rest of the world. Michael Jackson was making an announcement. So I skipped class and I was so excited. I called my mom. I said, I don't care what you have to do. We need to rob a bank. We're going to whatever we got to do so we can go to London. And, you know, I was just so excited because for me, as a Michael Jackson fan, you know, when I really started getting into Michael was after his 30th anniversary concert. And was just kind of a hard time to start being a Michael Jackson fan
Yeah.
or really get into him, because there was so many things that happened in the next few years that, being made fun of by your friends and people wondering, why do you like Michael Jackson? And don't you think he did this? And so to
Yeah.
finally get to a point where it seemed like, oh man, he's going to conquer the world again, and I'm going to be able to, people, they'll know why I'm a fan. They'll see it. They'll know why. And so yeah, I did have a little bit of that thought, but like Jamin and Q said, I kept thinking, no, this is going to happen. It's got to happen. Michael's got to reclaim his place in history, and this was meant to be, and it'll make up for all the horrible things that he had been through in the last decade leading up to that point.
And the reason I asked that question is because, coming back to the topic, I think that all of us as fans would love, if he was alive today, would just love to see him doing something that he loved, that he could,
Yes.
a project that he could see through to the end, that
Yep.
that didn't have these obstacles like so many of his projects were in the last, 10 years of his life, where something would just come up to stop it, or a record company would pull out on him, or he would pull out on them, or something like that. I mean, to be honest, I just wanted to see him do something that he loved,
Yeah.
that he
Totally.
just that he would just be at peace with, that he just loved doing and just wanted to see through to the end. So yeah, that's just what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
Such good points. Yeah. And we all, I think, something I think we all really wanted was just to see him just let his creativity just take
Yeah.
over and let him do his thing the way he wants to do it, and just and then at the end
Absolutely.
of that, whatever the product would have been incredible.
Yeah,
Definitely.
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
to add to that, one more thing, I think also something that we all would have wanted to see was just to truly see Michael be happy again.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
I'm not sure when the last time he was actually truly happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that he was happy at home with his children, and that's probably when he was most, happy. But yeah, to see him in the public eye and be happy and relaxed, absolutely would just be amazing.
I
Yeah.
think we saw glimpses of it maybe when he did his appearance in Japan for the big fan
Oh yeah,
meetup in Japan. I think we saw glimpses of it there. I think we saw a glimpse of it in the Michael Jackson Private Home Movies TV special.
oh
Oh
yeah,
That's
yeah.
why I think why I love that one so much is because he's just so relaxed and happy in that one, and it's funny. And I think we saw maybe glimpses of it maybe at the what was the award show in England where he
The
got
World
oh the
Music
world
Award.
music.
World
Yeah,
Music Awards. Is that the one when he did a bit of the We Are the World at the end?
yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we saw a bit of that there as well. So I think we saw glimpses, but yeah, just to let him be and just to be happy again. That's such a good point. Yeah.
It was a really positive era, actually. Like that whole post-trial, pre-2009 period was like, there was a lot of excitement, especially when he returned to the United States. It was all happening, and it just felt like as soon as Michael allowed that possibility again of him coming back to the entertainment industry, that whole giant machine of industry trying to control him came out again. And him allowing himself to come out and do more music, it was just all these people came around him to try and take advantage of that again, which, in my opinion, ultimately resulted in what happened in 2009. And I just hope one day we get a book about that. I want somebody to write a book about the whole last period of his life. Like what are the real reasons? What are all the things that happened leading up to 2009 that resulted in what happened?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just amazing to think how quickly it all kind of spiraled out of control. And I think that, the biggest thing that I would have liked to have seen is just him having the right people around him.
Yeah.
And that would tie in with him being happy, having people that he truly trusted. And he had some of those people, but there always seemed to be one or two that just would always say yes to him.
Yeah.
And he needed people that he truly trusted, and along with a little bit of discipline to make things happen. So yeah, it's sad.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very interesting stuff. That's something we could spend a whole show talking about, really.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
guys
yeah.
did. Thank you guys for joining us for that main discussion point. I'm glad that we had you for that because it's funny that a lot of the things we were thinking were all in common.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
some people had other stuff that led off, and I was like, oh yeah, that would have been awesome. So
Yeah.
mission accomplished. That worked perfectly.
What a great discussion topic there. We're going to get right into finds of the week now, and we might pick up straight with Q. What have you been engaging with Q this week, Michael Jackson related, that you've been really excited about?
Just the last couple of weeks, I've been like, if I've just been jamming to stuff, music stuff, I've had a cool little history remix that I'm going to throw out there for finds of the week. It's on SoundCloud, so I thought I better get this out there before it gets taken down. I think a number of the mixes I had in my playlist have all been disappearing lately from SoundCloud, so I thought I better get it out there while we can. But it's just a little remix, nothing huge this week. It's just a cool little remix of the track History. It's by the artist that's listed on SoundCloud is Lepi, L-E space P, Lepi. And yeah, it's just History remix. So we can play a bit of it on the show if you want.
Yeah.
And then let me know your thoughts. And like SoundCloud has some hilarious mixes, as Carlson and I heard this week. Remember that one? That was bizarre and funny. What was that? That was that Men at Work Down Under song.
Oh, that was amazing.
Amazing. It was bizarre.
I loved it. Okay, so it's the Smooth Criminal, but it's called Criminal Down Mix. So it's with what's the band called with the Land Down Under?
I think it was Men
at Work. Yeah. So and it's just mashed up. I just love
Hilarious.
it. It's just the instrumental of Smooth Criminal with with Land Down Under.
Yeah.
I thought that was just the weirdest, hilarious thing. But anyway, yeah, so SoundCloud has mixes like that, and then you can find some awesome ones. Like I think we've spoken about the Human Nature one before, which I think has now been taken down. But so I just have been jamming to this a lot, and I was like, I'm just going to put this in there as my find of the week. So we can listen to a bit of that. It's the History featuring Michael Jackson, of course, by Lepi. So there you go. You guys let me know your thoughts, and if you know any other cool SoundCloud remixes, send them through. Basically, because I want to add them to my Michael playlist, so that's pretty cool. Please send them in. But I like the cruisiness of that. It's just this cool take on history. So there you go. That was my find of the week.
Very, very cool. Jerome, what have you been enjoying for the last couple of weeks?
So for the last couple of weeks, I've been extremely busy at work, but when I get home and I have a little bit of free time in the evenings, I always tend to get stuck on YouTube. And so I watch various live clips of Michael from anything. And, for whatever particular reason, actually last night, I decided to record myself dancing to Billie Jean a little bit. And in searching for a version of Billie Jean to use, I was just looking through all the different Billie Jeans on YouTube, which there's so many. And I happened to find this montage of Billie Jean that I've never seen before, and it's not footage. It's not footage that we haven't seen before, but I myself had never seen this particular montage. I thought it just was so well done. It's about 12 minutes long, and it kind of uses it actually uses footage from just about every era of Billie Jean. Starting from Motown 25 all the way up to, you see parts of This Is It. And it's just so well done and blended together, and I really enjoyed it. So not anything particularly groundbreaking, but definitely a really cool clip that was uploaded by user Chief Mouse on YouTube. So if you're a fan of montages and you just want to see an awesome montage of Billie Jean, definitely something worth checking out.
Sounds really cool. We'll definitely put that in the show notes. I had a watch of it this morning. It's great.
Watch that. Good find.
Very, very good find. All right, Marnie, what have you been enjoying for the last couple of weeks?
Well, this is probably more like the last couple of months, but last year, SH Figure Arts brought out a Michael Jackson figurine. This is cool. Yeah, this is an official product, and it's actually a Moonwalker figurine. So it's, or the Smooth Criminal get up. Yeah, it's fantastic. So I was really wanting to get one of these, but kind of couldn't afford it. Moved house last year and everything. But my brother, who is very much into figurines, action figures and stuff, thought that he would buy this for me. So I have it in my hand. I have not unboxed it. So at the moment, I'm just admiring it. But it's a fantastic official product. It's not too expensive. And it's just, you can fully pose it. It actually comes with a shadow base that you can attach Michael to and have him do the lean.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's got some, funky little poses that it can do, and yeah, it's just a beautiful little figure. I mean, the face isn't fantastic on it, but it's quite a small figure, so you're not going to get the best faces on any small figure. But yeah, just the fact that you can, it's got this beautiful shadow base and you can make it do the lean or do any of the poses from Smooth Criminal is just awesome. So yeah, the box is beautiful as well. It comes kind of like with a Triumph International and Michael Jackson's signature on it. Yeah, so SH Figure Arts is a great line of action figures anyway, but yeah, I'm so excited that they brought out this beautiful Michael Jackson figure. So yeah, I've been admiring that for the last couple of months.
Carlson, the link that you sent for us to have a look at that, I did look at that yesterday, and I saw that in the merchandise shop at the Michael Jackson 1 show in Las Vegas, and
awesome.
I didn't buy it. I sort of regret it because I have to say it was a really cool little figure. Even the box alone, like you said, is a beautiful box, but the figure is really cool. It's like, it's not a huge figure, but we'll put in the show notes the article, the review that you sent us, and the figure is very, very well articulated, and that's really cool. How much was it? Can you remember?
Well, it was a gift, but on Amazon, it's US about $35. So not too bad for considering, I mean, it's a lot. It's smaller than the Hot Toys ones, and it's not as beautifully boxed or anything. But for an official Michael Jackson figurine, it's actually not too expensive. The retail price is $45. So if you can get it on Amazon for $35, and there's other places that sell it like Big Bad Toy Store and stuff like that. But yeah, for the quality and everything and for an official product, yeah, it's just
It's
great.
really
I
cool.
love it.
It's a really good looking figure. The costume's done really well, and yeah, the articulation is really cool. That's actually, if you've got nephews and nieces, maybe it's a cool present so you can get them into Michael Jackson subtly. Here's a cool action
Yeah,
figure.
absolutely.
So
Oh, can I just say one more thing about it? It actually has interchangeable upper body parts. So it has a jacket that actually billows out. So you can actually, so it looks, you put his arms in the air and he looks like he's doing the whole, flick of the
oh
jacket. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
cool. That's awesome. So like kind of like the pose on the front of the Ultimate Collection box? Yeah.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah, you
yes,
can do all of those
exactly.
wind poses and stuff. It's
Oh.
really cool.
Yeah, and it has another face as well. So it says it includes the attached normal expression face part as well as an additional interchangeable smiling face part. So you can have him looking stern or serious, and you can have him looking happy. So
So depending on your mood that day.
yes, exactly. So yeah, when I finally unbox it, maybe I'll play with the poses a little bit. But at the moment, I'm still kind of admiring it in the plastic.
So yeah, if anyone has this figure, send us a picture of you with the figure, and we will share that. Very cool find of the week.
So I have a find of the week as well, and this one is an article written on the All for Love blog by the writer Raven. It's a very interesting article. As you might know, I'm a history teacher, so I love learning about history and studying it and all of that kind of stuff, especially Michael Jackson history. And I found this article. It's called Where Michael Got His Good Looks, Michael Jackson's Beautiful Grandmother, Crystal Lee King Jackson. And one thing that I feel has never been written enough about is really the history of Michael's family prior to, Joseph and Catherine. It's really unclear, actually, his family roots. There's not a lot of writing out there about that sort of thing. So when I stumbled upon this article, I found it really interesting. And it came out, it was actually released on Mother's Day. The author, Raven, actually says in the article that she spent a lot of time in the past on Mother's Day in previous years honouring Catherine and putting out articles about her. But this year she felt it was important to honour Michael's grandmother. And so she did a bit of research and gathered some information and ended up putting out this article. And it all started, actually, her research started, I think, when she saw a photograph on a Twitter timeline. There's a Twitter user by the name of Yashi Brown, and they put out a photograph of Crystal Lee King Jackson. And when you see the photo, it's really amazing. It really looks like you're looking at a photo of Janet Jackson from the Rhythm Nation tour or something like that, because it's like the resemblance is really uncanny. And so that kind of piqued Raven's fascination, and she started researching and has written this whole article about this person who is Michael Jackson's grandmother, Joseph Jackson's mother. And there's all kinds of information in there about location and dates. Like, for example, Crystal Lee King Jackson grew up in rural Arkansas. She was born in either 1900 or 1907. We're not exactly sure due to the unclear nature of the history. She married a man called Samuel Jackson, who may have been the very first African-American teacher in the state of Arkansas. He was 33 at the time and she was 16. And basically they married and they had 5 children in very quick succession. And the oldest one of them was, of course, Joseph Walter Jackson, who was Michael's father. And the article goes into the rest of her life as well and the story around her life. And it's actually quite a sad story, especially in regards to her, like what she did after she had children. But the thing that really, really drove home to me after I read the article was that, like Michael and his siblings often talk about the abuse they suffered when they were growing up, by Joseph and that kind of thing. But this article really showed me that Joseph had his own struggles that he dealt with when he was a child, that he was going through, and especially when you learn about the story of his mother and what she had to deal with and what she was dealing with. Joseph's childhood wasn't very easy either. So it's just, that doesn't excuse anything, but it's kind of more like just context for learning about people's actions and the kind of history they had and went through as they were growing up, and learning about the history of the Jackson family stretching right back even beyond Joseph and Catherine really allow you to have a context and understanding as a fan of Michael Jackson that you can't have without researching this kind of thing. So I found it really interesting, and I'm going to put a link to it in the show notes if anybody wants to learn about Crystal Lee King Jackson as well. So yeah, that's my find of the week.
Awesome.
Wow.
Cool. You can definitely see a family resemblance. The eyes, I think, the cheekbones and the chin shape, I think, for me, are what stood out most, because that's, I think, in all of Michael and his siblings, I think the eyes, especially for him and Janet and LaToya, and then the cheekbones for everyone in that family, pretty much lucky buggers with those gorgeous cheekbones, and then the really cool squared jaw, the chin and the jaw. I think for me, they were the family genetic features I could see most coming through from the picture.
Yeah, well, that's how Raven actually starts the article. She starts by saying, like, if you ever wondered, have you ever sat and wondered why Michael doesn't look a whole lot like Joseph and Catherine? Well, it's possible that those genetic traits skipped a generation, and they just show this photo of Crystal Lee King Jackson, and it's like, wow, okay, definite correlation here. So we've got a few thank yous as well for this week's show. We're coming to the end of our show now, and I really want to give a big thank you, like another big shout out to Jenkins of Moonwalk Talks. Great guy, great podcast. I want to just plug it again. I don't want to, Q and I don't want to be the kind of guys where it's like, our podcast is the best and you shouldn't listen to any other podcast ever. Absolutely not. There's plenty of great podcasts out there, and not so many Michael Jackson ones, but there is another awesome Michael Jackson podcast you can listen to called Moonwalk Talks. Jenkins does a little bit of a different job to us. Q and I like to cover the news and then also do some discussion topics in there as well. We have quite long shows. Jenkins, what he does is he chooses a topic, usually one per show, and does a real deep dive into that topic, a lot of research and discussion around it. So really, really good show. Hilarious guy. Some of his episodes, I'm just sitting there cracking up. He just pulls out the jokes like you wouldn't believe. So make sure you check out Jenkins' Moonwalk Talks again. Thank you very much, Jenkins, for giving us a shout out on your last show as well.
Very cool. Yeah, it's a good show. Yeah, we're not the only Michael Jackson podcast out there. So, go check out some of the others, because, there's some, Jenkins has got a good one. I've got a few thank yous, if that's okay. I wanted to thank Kazi, JetBlue, James, Maximilian, Cody Covington, Eva Maria Sarah Lynn, Tabloid Junk, Conexio MJ from Brazil, Bev, 13th of June 2005. Check them out on Twitter especially, and YouTube. They've actually just starting up little mini YouTube podcasts about the vindication back in the trial era. So 13 June 2005, we can't wait to see the rest of your podcasts, and they've got an amazing book out as well. Legacy of Love NYC, Megan Davidson, Jads Schuster, Bad Groove, Michael's Dream, Anastasia, Yensid98, and Yensid, I totally get your in-joke there, being a big Disney nerd, Kerry Ward, Dwight Brown, at MJ_1_0_1. So MJ101, very cool guy, and shout out to you. June Astford, Briar O'Neill, Belinda O, and my beautiful hubs that brought in a cup of tea and some Anzac cookies for me to eat. Because I race, isn't he the best? Because I race in here without having any breakfast. So he snuck those in, and hopefully the mute button was working while I was eating those. So there, I know it was a lot, but we've had some really great interactions and support from people this week, and I wanted to make sure that I could get a bunch of them in there and show appreciation for our listeners. So
totally.
Thank you all. And there was a couple. You go.
Oh, sorry, Q. I just forgot to thank somebody as well. I wanted to thank you because the last
What?
couple of weeks, man, you have been really working hard on the social side of things. And for the listeners who don't really know, I take care more of the technical side of things, like recording and uploading the podcasts and all of that kind of thing. But Q is our social guy. He's on Twitter, he's on Facebook, he's on everywhere talking to people about the show, interacting with fans. And I just wanted to say thank you so much, Q, for all of the work you've been doing interacting with everybody lately, because it's been a monumental effort and you've done such a great job.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. It's fun. Like I'm going to be honest, I don't even know what Google Plus is. So good luck to the Google Plus listeners because I
They're
don't
on their
even know
own.
what that is. Yeah, so you're on your own. So I'll let you look after them, German. I don't even know what that is. But yeah, so Twitter, you're catching up to Facebook. We're loving it. So that's cool. Usually Facebook is like our powerhouse, but this last week and a bit, Twitter has gone off. We've actually now got over 600 Twitter followers. Well, when I checked last night, hopefully it hasn't dropped. But yeah, over 600 Twitter followers now. So that's awesome. And we welcome all the new listeners. And I even tried this week to start a little hashtag. And Jerome, thank you. And Leanna Norquest out there and Austin, you guys all joined into the hashtag. The hashtag was hashtag today I heard MJ. So you know how when you're out at the shops, JB Hi-Fi or on the bus or whatever, and you hear Michael, hashtag today I heard MJ, and let us know where you heard that song because we're all fans, and you guys are all going to laugh at this. You know, from 20,000 miles away that there's a Michael Jackson song playing because you can recognize a beat or something. You go, they're playing Billy
Man,
Joel.
I can hear
They're playing
Wannabe starting something a mile off. Like, I just hear,
we are all
I'm
like
there
that,
too. I walk
so-
straight there, wherever it is, whatever shop I'm going in
Yeah,
there.
you go.
That's so true.
Yeah.
You hear
I can think
a
of
tiny snippet in the wind, and you go, "Want to be starting something?" We're like a bloodhound,
Yeah.
us fans out there. We're all laughing because we know it's,
It's
true.
Oh, it's so true. I walked into the gym the other day and I could hear the way you make me feel, just the beat,
Yeah.
like as I was walking in, and I was like, oh, that is so great.
So next time, hashtag it. Today I heard MJ at the gym,
the
which
way
I
you
think
make me feel.
Leanna, I think heard it at the gym. So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah, I was at the mall recently twice, and I went into a particular store, and um, both of the times within 2 weeks of each other that I went into that store, it was fate. I walked in, and I heard a place with no name.
Wow.
Just the Escape version.
That's cool.
And it's just cool to hear that playing. That would be the last thing I'd expect to hear, but
Yeah.
definitely really cool.
Well, there you go. So listeners out there, when you hear your Michael, wherever you are, whatever time of the day, hashtag it. Today I heard MJ, and maybe you never know. Maybe we can get it trending. And in the future, we'll try some other hashtags out as well and see if we can get some trends. That would be fun.
Definitely.
Hashtag sausage fest.
There's our show title. It's
I don't know if you want to probably search for that. Might not be a good result. All right, so that's been a great show. And so, Carlson, thank you to the #1 fan in Australia of Michael Jackson, which is an official thing. We didn't make this up. We'll put that videos in the hashtag. I remember that from those good old early years. So thanks for joining us today. And what time is it over in Indianapolis, Jerome?
Right now it's 9:31 p.m.
Okay, so okay, for me and you, it's an exact 12-hour difference. So it's 9:30 here in the morning on a beautiful grey, rainy day. I have to say, I'm so happy. I love it. We don't get rain all that much here, so I'm like, woohoo! It's finally raining.
And there's a
it's a
storm
beautiful
coming
day.
in here.
Oh well, hopefully it's not too bad for you.
No, it shouldn't be too bad.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for joining us today. Your insight to the topic discussion sent in from the creative APE, Austin Ernst, one of our great listeners, was invaluable. So really appreciate that.
Thank you guys so much. I've had such a blast, and I really miss these, having these Michael Jackson conversations. As we get older, we don't get to do them as much, but I'm so glad you guys have the podcast because it's like a throwback to those all-night conversations that we all used to have with Michael Jackson fans, especially around the 2005 to 2009 time, when things were so exciting.
And we were all on the same fan clubs back then as well.
Oh, yeah, we were.
Yeah, so back in the day of Club MJ and Maximum Jackson, which is a whole other Oprah show.
Yeah, I think Club MJ tops that one. But and then there was MJ and O, which was a lot of fun, and miss those days.
Yeah, it's a different world now, that's for sure.
It sure is.
Just want to say thank you to all of you for having me. I really enjoyed it. Very honored to have been able to be on the show and be the first normal MJ fan with no real claim to fame. But
I saw you busting out a few moves on Instagram this week.
I wouldn't call yourself normal in that way, Jerome. You've been busting out those moves everywhere.
Busting out the moves. That was pretty cool. Are you wearing out the carpet in that corner? Because I know growing up, I wore out the carpet in my room in one particular patch.
I probably will wear out the carpet soon. But yeah, guys, it's been great to be on the show, and definitely very excited that you started the podcast, and I think it's a wonderful thing that will really continue to grow and be a great resource for Michael Jackson fans. And as you guys were just saying, one thing I'll say, if it wasn't for technology and social media, there's no way that I'd be talking to you guys in Australia right now. And I just think that's the coolest thing that just a few years ago, besides maybe messaging back on some forums or something, that we wouldn't be doing this. So it's just really awesome that we're able to connect
I think
this
the
way.
time is right. I think, we got so much cool technology now. Like I'm Skyping on this piece of glass, like this iPad, which is a computer, which would have a bajillion times more computing power than even the space shuttle would have back when they started that probably. I'm like talking to people across the country and then over in America. So I think the time is right. Technology is catching up where this sort of stuff is now a natural thing, and it's an awesome thing, and we're very lucky.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's so great. And of course, I'll be happy to be on any other time. If you guys ever want help with anything, I'm here. So I just think that what you guys are doing is so great. I'm so excited for you and so excited to be here.
Thank you so much. That's so cool of you guys. No, we appreciate all our listeners, and even if it is just a couple of blokes talking about MJ around the table. So no, that's cool. Thank you. Jamin, did you want to let people know how they can contact us and stuff?
Absolutely. There's a few key ways to get to us. If you want to go to the MJCast.com, you're going to find links to all of our social networks on there. If you go up to the top of the page, the MJCast.com, you'll find a little drop-down link, or a menu, which has all of our links in there. We got Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. We are everywhere. The best way to get the full story of the MJCast is to like, subscribe, follow us on all of those networks because they're all different. Twitter, we've got a lot of conversation happening. Facebook, we've got a lot of visual stuff happening. So check us out on all of those networks. But the best way to get to us is themjcast.com. To subscribe to our podcast, we are first and foremost a podcast. So to subscribe to us, if you want to use iTunes, just jump straight in there and search the MJCast, and we'll come up and you can hit subscribe and get our latest episodes. Alternatively, if you're on Android, the best way to do that is to go to our website and click the On Android link up the top right. It's a little green box, and it'll take you through the prompts in that way on how to do that. But otherwise, that's pretty much how to get to the MJCast. Oh, and we're also obviously on email. A lot of communication comes our way from people all over the world. So if you want to send us an email, we are themjcast@icloud.com.
Awesome. Cool. Yeah, and we would really love it if you could rate and review our show on iTunes. It doesn't take long at all to do. So if you could rate and review the show, we will send you a hug.
Definitely do it. We've got a couple of 5-star ratings up there on the US one, but we want more international iTunes ratings, so people all around the world.
Yeah, we have a lot of international fans. It's hard to keep up, actually, where everyone is from and all the communication, but all over the world. So if you could rate and review from wherever you are on iTunes, that would be awesome. So thank you so much. And we would love it also. We're very needy here at the MJCast. We would love it if you could tell your Michael friends about us. Just spread the word. You know, we've got some pictures up on Facebook and Twitter and on the site where you can share, and it has all of our contact details. So share that around. Tell your Michael mates about us, because the more of us there are, you know, the more we can give you and the more conversation there is between us.
Absolutely.
Cool. Well, that's it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
That's a wrap. I hope all of our listeners enjoy the rest of their week. Look forward to another episode in a fortnight's time. And make sure you keep Michaeling. Thank you.